The Angry Beavers was an animated TV series created back in 1997 and one of the handful of shows that aired on the Nickelodeon channel and seen by many as one of the channel's greatest creations. This very glam rocky kind of show could still inspire anyone who sees it today. With its colorful style, you can tell that it has merit, just like the many shows that came out during its era. You might think what I mean when I say glam rocky. Well, other than the show's concept, which is about two beavers, Daggett and Norbert, who live on their own and live a bachelor life as brothers. But for the most part, they will come in contact with strange, bizarre, crazy people, places, and things, and 95% of the time, these weird events take center stage. For anyone who happens to be in their 20s, may have memories of the Angry Beavers today, in which they do, as there still is a fan base for these beavers after 14 years. If there's one thing that fans still might remember now and then in terms of the show's history, it was how the show met its end. The final Angry Beavers episode to be made, Bye Bye Beavers, had something very special in its storyline. Since this was the last time we would see the Angry Beavers, the creators constructed this episode to be a be-all, end-all finale, doing this in such a way that no matter what, no power or force in the universe could bring the show back to life. And this wasn't the type of storyline that ended with a going away party, or finding out who their long lost father was, or just having the planet explode. What ended up being created is probably one of the very few of its kind. So what happened? Norbert gets a letter out of the blue, and what this letter does is that it makes Daggett and Norbert aware that they are nothing more than fictional characters on a television show. And by learning about this, the Beavers decide to break the fourth wall. Not only do they point out that they are nothing more than fiction, but they point out everything about their world. They point out that they know that they are drawn by Korean animators. They point out Nickelodeon's very name. And they even point out their voice actors, the ones that have brought them life itself to the forefront. One thing that's interesting about this episode in the making is the voice actors, Nick Bankay and Richard Horvitz's position in this as they record. I find it odd that once the actors make their characters aware of their existence, we are now in a world where alter egos become their own and end up having four personalities interacting with each other. Bankay and Horvitz then start talking about other work that they have been in, and will call each other a mix of their name and their character's name at times. This ends up being nothing more than entertaining and fun. As always, Horvitz and Bankay's chemistry works off together like bread and butter, and bring their A game like they always do. In the end, this recording feels like it comes off as a mix of a real recording for an episode, but also as a funny studio session. I should point out that when I say recording, the only way you can see Bye Bye Beavers itself is through a recording that the actors did in pre-production. The reason you can't see the episode itself is because Nickelodeon never aired the last episode in the USA. To Nickelodeon, they saw this as a controversial move on the creators' part, as they broke the #1 golden rule when it comes to ending a show. You don't just end a show that has no way to return to TV. Because what if we want to show reruns, and maybe even bring the show back with new life? And that was Nick's question to the whole thing. This is something that surely hasn't happened before for a fictional TV show. Some might say that this was the most shocking thing you can do to a show like Angry Beavers, and were even surprised by it. Others might say that the creators were out of their mind. Why would you risk losing your job and take out your own show yourself on purpose? As for me, if I was one of the creators behind the show and was in a situation like this, my reaction would have been, well, you wanted a final episode, so I don't know what you're complaining about. But there's more to the story than just a show ending. For me, By the time I was done listening to the tape, I realized something about the making of this moment. If you took 2 steps back and saw this more closely, there's more to this than just 2 characters breaking the 4th wall. Due to the idea that the creators had in mind from the start, not only do they break the 4th wall, but they break down all walls. What they have done is taken everyone and everything that is associated with this fictional world and has made everyone, from the creators to the writers to the actors, even the fictional characters themselves, fully aware of each other's presence. They transformed Angry Beavers into an introspective, in-depth, psychological world. Or to put it another way, they wanted us to see this not as a show, but as an experience. Look at what Wes Craven did with his 2 films, Scream and New Nightmare, and what their foundation was built on. They were not about watching a scary movie. It was about how both the real world and fake film world interacted with each other, and what kind of causes and effects could happen when we come in contact with that gray line between real and unreal, and how it plays in our everyday lives. When it comes to animation as a media, it shows us what it can do time and time again as an art form. But I think it's time that we take animation as an experience and give it the New Nightmare treatment. I say this because as a fan of this art form, I see it as something that we as people look at with a much more deeper magical wonder about it. Seeing how people react to these creations can go from appreciating it for being a great piece of art to some people wanting to literally be a part of that fictional world. But no matter how you see it, the ultimate reaction is the same. We look at it in wonder because we can't believe that a fully living world was made by human hands. So we want to explore that world, but what is there to discover? Well, a question like that reminds me of a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. And when you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you. By creating these fictional worlds which are not real, yet are full of life and become entities of their own. So what is our relationship as creators to our creations? By being amazed by these worlds, we gaze a lot. So when we stare, thinking about that world, I wonder if the world of imagination ponders about this world. Are we looking at ourselves, or have we created life that could talk back if it could? These are the types of ideas that come to me because when I see this, it's just too amazing to believe that the unreal illusion is real enough for me. The thing I ponder most of all about this amazing symbiotic relationship is how do we as people move forth with animation as both as a media and as an experience, and wonder if there's anything new to discover within the world that's within our world. Going back to Bye Bye Beavers, imagine the kind of ending that last show would have had if the creators, still making the characters aware of what they were, but also making them aware of what they meant. It would have been a melancholy, bittersweet, but perfect ending. Even though Daggett and Norbert may vanish away forever, they knew that they were made for a reason. As we've grown with them through their eyes, they got a better understanding through our eyes. So in the end, from my point of view, the creators of Angry Beavers, no matter what their motive was to make this idea, they unconsciously touched upon a curiosity that the art form hasn't explored yet. By playing godlike roles, creating made-up worlds that are not our own, what is the meaning to have such things? And why do we find these illusions so powerful, so life-affirming, and yet both our reactions and these creations are generated from us?